welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, or should I say, welcome to the program, welcome to the show. All right, I was doing a test shot and looking at myself and I thought, you're starting to morph into Andy Hunter. You got the hat, the whiskers. I think I've seen him wear like an undershirt a few times. I don't think he's gone quite wife beater, full wife beater yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. So anyway, what I want to talk to you about today is the GMT Master 2. All right. Hey, Andy, how are you? Yes, the GMT Master 2, specifically bezel inserts. I mean, I think I've made a few videos on bezel inserts, and why not? I mean, can you ever have too many videos on GMT Master 2 or Master bezel inserts? I think not. Now, the idea for this video came from Captain Danny, who posed an interesting question a few weeks back. He said, you have to run out the door. We'll make this relevant to Japan. There's a massive earthquake. The building's just about to crumble. You have to run out the door. What watch do you grab? All right. The building's not quite ready to crumble. You got about 5 minutes, so you have enough time to change out bracelets, bezel inserts, perhaps. What would you go with? Well, Danny called it. He actually knew exactly what I'd go with. And you guys know what model I would go with, of course, the GMT Master 2, because it's the most versatile watch, I think. Now, what model would I go with? Probably the A serial because of those serifs, which I think are very beautiful. If you don't know what I'm talking about, link in the description of this video to yesterday's video when I talk about that. So I'd go with the A serial, but which bracelet would I choose? You know, I got about 4 minutes left, so I can change out the bracelet before the building comes tumbling down on me. Would I go Jubilee or Oyster? Well, let's talk about that. The Jubilee bracelet is very comfortable, right? And that's one of the best things about it. Because of all those links, it's very soft. It's got a soft feel to it. And in hot weather, it's a little bit more forgiving. The other side of that coin is in cooler weather, when your wrist tends to contract, it can feel kind of loose, but it's overall a much more comfortable bracelet than the Oyster bracelet, which can feel a little bit like a shackle at times. That said, when you're wearing a bracelet after 10 minutes of wear, you kind of forget about it. But when you do think about it, you really realize how nice this feels. It's just the feeling is probably the best thing about it. But looks-wise, I think the Oyster is a better-looking watch. Better-looking bracelet, I should say. We're talking bracelets right now. And it's more masculine. This can look a bit feminine. Also, this isn't going to be as strong because there are more links, and more parts means more chances for it to break. And so I think the Oyster's going to be a stronger watch because there's just less parts to it. You know, I think if you're talking about somebody trying to like rip it off your wrist, I think this would probably give way faster than a Oyster. And also there's the clasp, and that's a huge aspect right there. And Danny called it. He said you'd go with the Oyster because of the flip lock clasp on the Oyster. And you know, if you're swimming, it just adds that little bit of security. So, you know, something happens, you're in deep water, something catches, and your hand goes down, all of a sudden your watch comes out off your wrist and plummets, and you can't swim down fast enough to get it. Nightmare scenario. And it's happened to many people, apparently. So that flip lock clasp just gives that added bit of security. And if you're talking about people who potentially could steal a watch off your wrist, which seems to be a thing in Italy, they have to use two hands if there's a flip lock clasp, whereas something like this, they can do it with one hand. They'll still get your watch probably, but at least they'll have to use two hands to get it. They'll have to put forth a little bit more effort, but you know, it might deter somebody. So right there, the security, the look, at the cost of a bit of comfort would make me choose the Oyster bracelet. All right, now I've got like 3 minutes left before the building comes down. Which bezel insert do I go with? Well, the Pepsi is a lovely insert, and it is quintessentially GMT. All right, the first GMT, the 6542, which came out in 1954, had, you know, the original Pepsi insert on a Bakelite bezel, actually, and the reason being, it was a watch that was commissioned by Pan Am. I should have my Pan Am hat on right now, and Pan Am asked Rolex to make a watch for their international pilots to help them get over jet lag, because apparently when you are aware of different time zones, it helps you acclimate better. And Rolex used the Pan Am colors, red and blue. And so, yeah, we have Pan Am to thank for those sort of colors and really the original GMT. But as Danny brought up, it can be a bit loud, and I think he was the one that said that some pilots refer to it as the clown watch, which I can totally understand, because I mean, there's a lot going on color-wise with that watch, and for that reason, I wouldn't choose that. That wouldn't be the bezel insert that I would go for. In fact, I don't know if I'll ever put on another Pepsi in my life. I think I might have had my fill. It's beautiful, and I love it in theory, but like Ume Shoe, as delicious as it may be, I never want to have it again. And I don't think I want a Pepsi on my wrist either, because it's just too bright. And if you're like me, you look at things through the lens of a one-watch guy. I'm not a one-watch guy, but I have the heart of a one-watch guy. And when you do, you tend to appreciate versatility. And you see the beauty in a watch that many people might call vanilla or boring. And for that reason, you know, I kind of shy away from accented watches, and again, that bezel color, that bezel configuration of the Pepsi is just too much for me. I'll probably never do it again. But I love it. I love seeing them. I love looking at pictures of them. But I just think I've had my fill. We'll see how I feel in a year. All right. But so wouldn't go that route. Now, right now, the A serial has the all black bezel, and I've always said that that's sort of a boring color, but I gotta be honest. I mean, when I took off the A serial and put it in my grandfather's watch box, it's not because I got tired of it. It's just because I felt like I wanted to do something new. In fact, you know, I was sort of sad to put it away, and I thought, you are perfect. I could wear you forever. You are a watch that I could wear for the rest of my life and be perfectly happy with. Why am I changing you out? Why am I putting you down? So while I love the Pepsi in theory, I really adore the all black in practice. And you know, I just think it's so versatile and nice, and it is really probably what I should choose, but my head says it's too boring, and you might get bored. My heart is quite content with it, to be honest, but my head says you can't go all black. You got to have at least some color there. Incidentally, the all-black bezel was introduced in the early 1970s on the 1675. And yeah, so it's the second oldest bezel configuration. All right, so that leaves then what Danny predicted I would choose, and that's the Coke. And that's because it seems to be a happy medium between the loudness of the Pepsi and the kind of the boringness of the all black, even though it's the boringness of the all black that I love and I appreciate, and it's probably what I should go with, but my head tells me that I should have a little bit of color there, something, you know, one of those bicolored bezel inserts. So Coke it would be. And of course, one advantage of that is if you want to use your GMT like a functional timer, then from the arrow to where the different color starts is exactly 15 minutes. So that can make things a little easier to time things. But really it's a non-issue if you think about it. I mean, from the arrow to the 6, that's fine. And if you just know the 6 is a quarter of the way there, that's good enough. One other reason, again, this is more head talking than anything, is that the Coke is quintessentially GMT Master 2. All right. Now, in 1983, there was a schism. The GMT line fractured and went off into the GMT era, right? The 16750 and 16700. And those are the straight GMTs where the 24-hour hand and the local hour hand are connected, and you need to use the bezel to check another time zone. Or in 1983, the Fat Lady, aka the Sophia Loren, called so because the case was a little bit bigger, was born 1983, and that's reference 16760. And that was the birth of the GMT Master 2, when you could separate the local hour hand from the 24-hour hand and the minute hand. And you didn't need to rely on the bezel. It gave you more options, and it was a little bit more expensive. And yeah, the Fat Lady is the direct ancestor to my GMT Master 2 A serial and P serial. And so for that reason, I think perhaps it should have a Coke bezel, because in 1983, that was the birth of the Coke bezel on the Fat Lady. That was the first time that the world had seen the Coke. It appeared on the Fat Lady. So that's why all Fat Ladies should have a Coke bezel, and any Fat Lady without a Coke bezel is suspect. And it's why, if you really want to pay tribute to his predecessor, why you might want to go with the Coke bezel. And there you go. So Danny pretty much nailed it. GMT, Oyster bracelet, Coke bezel, and I'd get right out the door, the building would fall down, and I'd probably immediately regret going with the Coke bezel because, you know, the all black bezel treats you right. Treated me right. I've never gotten tired of it. I never, you know, it's just one of those things. The less watches you have, and this is, I think, what I want you to take away from this video, the less watches you have, the more you want to watch out for things with funky colors and accents. And, you know, if you look at things through the eyes of a one-watch guy, you appreciate simplicity, versatility, and watches that a lot of people might call vanilla. You know, if you have 10 watches in the collection and you go with a Hulk, that's fine. You can rotate things, and when you get tired of the Hulk, change it out for something. But if you're looking to be a one-watch guy and you're getting your first Rolex and you're going with a Hulk, well, if you're anything like me, you're going to get tired of that green, and it's going to grate on you for you know, pretty quickly after you start wearing it. So even a little bit of red on the bezel can have that effect. So let's all appreciate the vanilla watches out there, because they are what make the one watch guy tick. All right, take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.